Sorry that this review is a week late, guys, but to be perfectly honest, I'm kind of glad that it was, because this anime that I'm about to review did not deserve to be in Bullshit Month. Hey guys, the Black Critic Guy, and I'm here today to review the anime Mayoiga, or The Lost Village in English. So Mayoiga follows a group of young men and women who decide to abandon their terrible former lives in the hopes of starting a new, more fulfilling one by going on a mysterious bus tour to an unknown secret village. Yeah, that sounds pretty sketchy to me, but what the hell, let's just roll with it. Let's see where this premise takes us. They end up at the unknown village only to discover that the place is not what they were led to believe. Wow, who could have saw that one coming, am I right? The village to them seemed abandoned as the buildings were deteriorating and there were no other inhabitants around, not to mention that they were hearing some strange and terrifying noises coming from the forest surrounding the village, which led to mass confusion and unease and growing distrust among the members of the group. And so now, the group sets off to uncover the mysteries of this lost village if they're ever going to leave. Now, this was the final anime you all requested me to watch and review for Bullshit Month. And after watching the anime in its entirety, much like Astra swore, I was left scratching my head pondering why. I mean, granted, this anime isn't the greatest anime ever made, but it's also not a glorified piece of shit. It's not like a god-awful anime that made me want to tear my hair out like the countless upon countless of other anime that I had to watch and review for Bullshit Month. This was actually pretty solid. First, let's address the two ingredients that are essential in making an interesting anime: the story and the characters. First, the story. I'm not gonna lie, it was very well told and I found myself really invested into what was going on because it's a solid story filled with mystery, intrigue, and suspense. Some of the most crucial elements needed when telling a mystery type story. For most of this anime, I was constantly on my toes trying to figure out what exactly is happening in this plot. And not because it's so convoluted, messy, and incoherent that it just doesn't make sense when you look closely at it and I gave up trying to find an inkling of a story, but because the plot was so engaging that it piqued my curiosity. It made me want to learn more about what's happening in this village and what's happening to the characters. Not to mention how I absolutely adored how the story tackled the theme of personal anguish and facing your own demons, and handling it so well. Next, we have the characters. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that all the characters featured in the anime were these golden treasure troves of greatness, just filled with deep and enriching backstory and personality. Many of them are pretty bland, stoic, underdeveloped, and poorly executed. But for the ones that got the most attention, the main characters in particular, they were handled so well that they outshined all the bad characters. The creators of the anime did a pretty good job at picking which characters deserve more focus and development, as many of their choices were pretty interesting characters that did stand out from the bunch, and they did a really good job at exploring their past, many of their backstories being dark and tragic and painting a perfect picture as to why a character ended up a certain way and why they act a certain way. Lovepone, Nianta, Mikage, Valkana, and Hayato are just a few examples of characters that they do a really good job at exploring throughout the entire anime. Not to mention that each one of those characters act very antagonistically throughout the entire anime, and it makes a lot of sense as antagonistic characters are just way more interesting and fascinating than your average nice guy character. That is except for who I consider to be the best and most realized character in the entire anime, and my personal favorite, Mitsumune. I freaking loved what they did with his character. Now, initially, when the anime first introduces us to his character, I thought I was gonna outright hate him, as they present him as the typical, average, generic, dull, completely oblivious male lead that we've seen in countless upon countless of anime nowadays. And I said to myself, really, anime? You just had to resort to using this cliche character trope? Oh god, this is gonna be painful. I'm not gonna like this character whatsoever, am I? And not only that, his motivations and instant love for the main girl Masaki were weak and unfounded. So I thought, okay, this character is gonna be the one that breaks the camel's back. He's the one that's going to ruin this anime for me, right? Wrong. Because as the anime goes on, as the anime progresses, you explore a lot more of the character and he becomes a more fully realized, three-dimensional, multi-layered character. I mean, they delve into his past, which does a really good job at painting a picture as to why the character is acting this certain way and why he's so motivated to change who he is. Because in his past, he had no identity. He never stood up for himself. He never made his own decisions. Someone else would always make them for him. So his motivations become more sound and clear. This is why he ran away. This is why he's trying to become a different person. This is why he's trying to make his own choices now, because he never had the chance to do it for himself in the past. Now he's trying to prove himself to be his own man, his own person. And then his love for Masaki is also more fully realized. You come to realize that he doesn't just love the character because of her looks. In fact, the anime kind of pokes fun at this as he says that he kind of falls in love with all the girls just because of shallow reasons. But he falls for Masaki because she is the first person in his life that sees him for who he truly is. He sees him for what he wants to be. And also, she likes his name, a name that he rarely ever uses. And I truly respected his resolve and determination throughout the anime. But now we've reached the point that I'm sure many of you were probably waiting for, all the issues that I have with this anime. The first issue isn't necessarily a big one, but it's most definitely a glaring one that plagues this anime throughout, and that's its animation. Now again, I'm not saying that the animation overall is god-awful. In fact, I would say that it's pretty decent. It's just that there are some points in the anime where the animation is pretty spotty at times. Like sometimes the animation looks great, the character designs are solid, the backgrounds are colorful, the atmosphere is handled very well. But then there are other times where a scene would look so cheap and out of place, especially when they would resort to using 3D animation. I mean, it just doesn't mesh well. As mentioned prior, though some of the characters got some really good development given to them, the others unfortunately weren't all that lucky. Now, I understand that it's very difficult balancing out which characters get more focus and attention than others, especially in a 12 episode long anime. I mean, you're only given so much time to tell your story and develop your characters. So I understand it was a difficult task. But you could have at least attempted or tried to develop these characters. Make them have discussions among themselves. There's so much downtime in the anime, you could have spent that downtime developing these characters, talking about their past, their histories, and their afflictions. Now this issue does come with a bit of an asterisk, as I don't think that any of the characters in the entire anime came off as deplorable or unlikable. Well, maybe him, he was just really annoying. I don't really think he was all that necessary in the anime, but most of them, they were likable. Some of them were actually pretty relatable. It's just they could have gone more development and more time given to them to make them fully realized characters. But what's even more upsetting is that they also dropped the ball on characters that they were trying to explore and develop. Lion, Nanka, Jack, Korun, and Mai Mai are perfect examples of this. Characters that are given more focus and attention than most, but they fail to further explore and expand on these characters, exploring their personalities, what they're like as people, exploring the inner turmoils that they face, and most importantly, exploring their backstory to paint a picture as to why they're the person that they are today. Now, sometimes they do give you bits and pieces here and there, but not enough to paint the perfect picture like the other characters I mentioned before. It's not at the same degree, even though they have the same amount of screen time. Again, that's just disappointing. The most disappointing, in my opinion, was Jack, Korun, and Nanka. These three characters, they're given enough screen time, but they don't really explore or expand on these characters. Especially with Jack and Nanka. I would have loved to learn more about them, as Jack had a very interesting backstory dealing with bullying that I wish they could have explored more, but the character rarely makes an appearance in the anime, which is just upsetting. What a waste of a really good character. And Nanka too is another example of a great character misused. She's a detective type character that likes to squeeze her fat folds when she's like trying to deduce what's going on. And I'm like, why are you here? What was so bad about your life that you ended up coming on this bus tour to this secret village? Is it because you wanted to solve the case? Is it there's a deeper reason? You never learn. You never learn it. The anime does come off a smidge repetitive after a while with the constant bickering and arguing and complaining and mistrust. I mean, we kind of did this beat earlier in the anime and now we're going to do it again in the middle and then we're going to do it again at the anime. We don't need to keep doing the same thing. We can move on and explore new elements with the characters and the story. And the last issue I found is that I did notice that there were some small inconsistencies in the anime story here and there. Not enough to break the story, mind you, but just enough to come off as a continuity error. But overall, guys, even with all of its problems, I still ended up really enjoying The Lost Village. I thought it was a really solid mystery anime. It did keep me on my toes. The characters were likable. Many got some good development. I love the main character. It's just a really solid anime, and I don't understand why it's getting so much hate. It's not a god-awful anime. You want to see a god-awful anime? Go check out my reviews for I Don't Like You at All, Big Brother, or Akisora. Those are bad animes. Big Order, bad anime. This anime, not at all. It's not a bad anime. It is a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It's actually an enjoyable anime, and I do recommend if you're a fan of mystery animes, give it a watch. You might actually find something to like about it. But as always, I'm not the end-all be-all opinion when it comes to Mayoiga. I would love to know what you guys thought about this anime as well. Did you love it to death? Do you think it's a really solid mystery anime and you don't understand the hatred for it? Or are you on that hate bandwagon, you think it's total crap, it's terrible, it's lackluster as a mystery anime? And let me know, what is an anime that you were so surprised that everyone hated so much? Like you never understood why people hated the anime so much. Comment below, let me know. And if you would like to support the Black Critic Guy in any way, shape, or form, I do have a Patreon. There's a link to it in the description. You can donate as much as you want, $1, $5, $100. That'd actually be awesome. And also, if you'd like to send me any letters or fan mail, you can send it to my P.O. box. Here it is on the screen, and there's also it in the description. And as always, guys, stay tuned for more videos on the way. And until then, if you'd like to see more videos on this channel, be a part of the Black Critic crew, please hit that subscribe button below. Like this video if you really enjoyed it. I'm Tony Watt II, the mystery solver known as the Black Critic Guy. Till then, peace, YouTube.